Welcome to the Focal Insights Podcast Founder Hour edition, hosted by co-founder Joe Pawlak. Joe has been in the e-commerce industry for over 25 years. He grew and bootstrapped his own startup to a successful exit. Founder Hour episodes go behind the scenes to learn how some of the best e-commerce brands were founded, grown, and operated straight from the founders themselves. Founder Hour is brought to you by Focal Software, a new generation ERP and operation suite for e-commerce brands and third-party marketplace sellers. Focal was built with SMB brands and marketplace sellers in mind to help them grow profitably. Now let's welcome our host, Joe Pawlak.
Hello and welcome to the Focal e-commerce Insights podcast, where we chat with e-commerce entrepreneurs about business, selling online, and how to overcome challenges for success. Today we have a very exciting guest, but before we get started, for listeners not familiar with the podcast or Focal Software is an e-commerce operations software and marketplace account management company. So if you need help growing your business profitably, be sure to stay tuned to future podcasts or feel free to reach out. Joining us today is David Spain, who is the CEO of Parent Giving, a company that is dedicated to providing the best elder care products with a focus on their Dry Direct line of incontinence products. David has a bachelor's degree from Virginia Tech and an MBA from Lehigh University, over 20 years experience in the e-commerce space, including home, fashion, luxury, and healthcare. He took Parent Giving from a 7-figure to 8-figure company in annual revenue. He's been featured in Forbes, Business 2.0, HFN, and USA Today, has created multiple e-commerce brands and businesses, is an avid tennis player and a grandfather, and currently resides in the suburbs of Philadelphia. David, welcome to the podcast.
Joe, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Well, let's get started how we always do on this podcast, which is what people call the origin story. You hear that term a lot. Now, in your case, you're not the founder of Parent Giving, but you were brought on at a point where they were ready to really jumpstart it or enter a growth phase. And that's, I think, your specialty, because you certainly succeeded with it. So why don't you tell us how that came to be and how you got involved there?
Sure. Parent Giving was founded by several Wall Street masters of the universe people who were going through their own caregiving journey in terms of taking care of their parents, and looked around and saw the dearth of resources or even product selection and help at retail or pharmacy was just missing. And they were like, this cannot be the way to do this. They also had reams of market research showing this silver tsunami or gray market that was going to explode as the aging boomers reached a certain threshold. So they started Parent Giving with that goal, and they did everything from original content to curation to affiliate to e-commerce. And along the way, they recognized that after they established the business and threw a lot of money at it, that they needed a path for growth. And that's where I crossed their paths. Namely, Bob Silver was our angel investor, former head of UBS Wealth Management, and he shared the vision and really the business potential associated with this. And after I got over the idea of selling a lot of adult diapers and the associated products, I recognized the real beauty of the model and was looking for something a little more service oriented, a little more giving back, a little more, doing more for others than just selling fashion over a 6-season cycle and on e-commerce, which can be a bit of a treadmill. So once they kind of sold me on the vision, I understood it and was very excited by it and jumped in with both feet and have been there for 12 years.
Yeah, and that's a usually these, I guess, origin stories, they're either from a personal need that somebody finds that they solve for themselves and then say, hey, other people are going to have this problem as well, or they just identify a gap in the market and then they decide to create something. In this case, sounds like it was both of those things kind of came together at one point and they started the company.
Absolutely. And at the time, my aging parents were also going through a similar journey. And I recognized almost immediately the opportunity. And really, the opportunity, e-commerce was also coming into its kind of growth phase past the wild, wild west of socks and puppets and other, ideas, and started to get some real terra firma under it. And again, I recognized the potential, and then recognized the potential in my own life as well of being able to serve family and loved ones.
Yeah, and were you involved during the whole COVID time period as well?
Oh my gosh. So yes, we've been here 12 years. COVID occurred 5 years ago, right after we were acquired by Santec Spa, a high-end Italian incontinence manufacturer. And we went through all of the feast and famine of COVID, which was when you could not buy medical supplies, which we specialize in, but masks and gloves. And we'd see these wild spikes in business. And then followed by, global supply chain shortages where you suddenly have to turn off customers because you can't access those products. So, yes, we went through all the ebbs and flows of COVID, and COVID that COVID era was not just a 1 year period. It was really almost like a 3 year period of these wild swings before things started to stabilize. And I feel like we're going through another era now with these tariffs and global supply chains and the impact it has on access to great quality product that you can serve to your customers.
Yeah, and as far as COVID goes, I recently saw on Twitter or X a meme, a image, and some caption with it. But it was people. I think it was at a Walmart fighting, physically fighting over toilet paper. So I imagine with your products that it was not people fighting, but certainly that was the mindset at the time. And it's amazing that I thought in my mind, oh yeah, I remember that actually happened.
It was not only fighting, it then became hoarding,
Yeah,
right?
hoarding as well.
So people were like, I never want to run out of these masks or gloves or adult diapers. And so we had to put circuit breakers in place to ensure that there was not too much ordering going on. Again, you have to support the whole supply chain as you're trying to reach your customer and make sure that's going to be there, 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road. So lots of interesting times during
Yeah,
that period.
absolutely. So when you talk about you came on board, then you're kind of starting a new thing. Did what challenges did you face maybe that you weren't expecting? Whether it's general challenges or something specific to the new industry that you jumped into.
So most of my time in e-commerce businesses, I was either working for a manufacturer or a brand. And in this instance, we were building our own store and relied heavily on healthcare distributors to source and service our business. I loved the flexibility of it, and as you built relationships with these healthcare distributors, it could really make or break your business. But then over time, you start to recognize the shortcoming of selling other brands. And so, about 3 years into my journey with parent giving, I approached our investors and said, we have to move to our own brands. We have to invest in private label, both from a margin and ability to market. There were just too many players out there selling the same brands with different cost structures or different motivations, quite honestly. One of the opportunity things that I really picked up on, Joe, was when I moved into parent giving, it was the first time I had been exposed to custom code. And, traditionally I had used third-party software to build e-commerce businesses, but we had a great in-house development team. And I very quickly learned to embrace the beauty of custom code because if we thought it added value to our business, we jumped on it. We did it. We framed out the project and we would make it happen. And we think that gave us real opportunity versus our competitors over time. One of which was we developed an optimal sourcing program. Again, we were reliant on distributors for our business. Well, once we built this algorithm that would kind of optimally source products based on availability, price, proximity to its ship location, we recognized a 2 to 4% operating margin lift, which again, I thought was a real go-to-market advantage. And then, of course, over time, we did move over to Shopify when our developer post-COVID had a life-changing event, and our primary developer, and she left us, and we made the decision, looking around at the landscape of third-party e-commerce software, we made the decision to go with big Shopify. And I have not regretted that one iota. It's a tremendous ecosystem with a lot of innovation, a lot of integration already built into it. And I think that's one of the great things we've done over the last 5 years was to move over to Shopify.
Yeah, so going back a little bit to you come on board. The goal is to grow the company, get into
Yep.
a very rapid growth phase. Was the plan always that e-commerce was going to be a big component of that, or it
The
doesn't sound like.
founders threw a lot of stuff against the wall to see what would stick, and eventually um, I made the decision to say we must focus on e-commerce and e-commerce exclusively. Managing content, managing forums, um, became a distraction. And we weren't focused on getting the best product to our customers with a great experience. And for example, we had forums that we would facilitate for SEO purposes. And they would range for everything from elder care to legal issues around the elderly, all very pertinent topics, all very real for driving traffic to our business. But when people were, you know, coming to us with tales of senior abuse, or my brother moved in with my mother and took all of her assets out of her bank account. I was like, are we really servicing the people we need to service? Are we distractions? And are we really letting these people down who are desperate in some scenarios? So very quickly after observing, although it did merit traffic, we had to focus on e-commerce, and that was a decision that we made early in the game.
Yeah, that's a great example of maybe getting a little too wide on where you need to be to sell products, which is what the goal is. And even though it sounds like it was a very worthy endeavor and good information for people, but it didn't necessarily help the business.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Okay, you mentioned Shopify, so you've got your website, you're selling things on there. How about other marketplaces? Did you immediately embrace Amazon and
We
Walmart.com?
did. We always embraced Amazon as it emerged as this dominant force in e-commerce. Um, I will say that we look first to develop customers directly with parent giving, but we cannot ignore Amazon and Walmart.com as these marketplace forces. It used to be One, 3 out of every 4 searches started with Google, and now I think it's almost inverted. It's 1 out of every 3 searches starts with Google, and 2 out of every 3 start with Amazon. So you have to play in marketplaces, and not play. That's a wrong term. You have to be serious about marketplaces, just because that's where your customers are.
Yeah, they're there and their financial information is there and they can click one click purchase and they don't they made it amazingly easy to use as kind of just a purchasing tool, even if they're doing the research somewhere else.
Joe, we try to put every incentive possible to buy directly from us. And then we've used Postpilot and a couple of other retention, both software and direct mail platforms. And, I often challenge them. It's like, how can I wean these Amazon customers onto our direct business? And they're like, David, they're embedded. It's whether
Yeah.
it's the credit card or their Prime membership, they are embedded to that marketplace.
Yeah, the genie's out of the bottle on that one. And
Sure.
they really just once you can change behavior of essentially the world, then it's going to be hard to change it back. But of course, your own website is going to have the best margins and the ability to create loyalty for directly, which of course Amazon wants to block your ability to do that as well. But that's their
Exactly.
model, and they're the 800-pound gorilla.
Absolutely. And until antitrust really gets some teeth and nails into it, they're here to stay. And I'm hearing whispers of further inroads into healthcare by Amazon. So they're entrenched and getting bigger and stronger.
Yeah, and oftentimes when you look at an industry that's as massive as healthcare, there will be marketplaces specific to them as well. Do you use anything like that, or I don't even know if that exists, but kind of the Amazon for healthcare?
It's funny when I talk to thought leaders and CEOs in this space. There's this overwhelming trend, which is that our government cannot support healthcare expenditures at its current rate. And at some point, more and more of healthcare will become consumer facing or retail. And I think we straddle that right now. Incontinence is not reimbursed as a purchase. The government has not stepped in to do that. It's a necessary tool to manage the aging process. But it's funny to talk about what elements will continue to be supported by the government and healthcare purchases and what will end up being retail purchases. So to be determined.
Yeah, yeah, it's like you said, the demographics and the money is just not there to support what's coming. So
Right.
it's going to change,
It's funny
hopefully.
because when I talk to healthcare distributors, they'll always call them patients, and I always correct them, and they laugh, but they understand where I'm coming from. I was like, they're not patients, they're customers.
Yeah.
And that's an important word distinction that I hear over and over again. So again, I think more patients will become customers over time.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about specifically now e-commerce selling. Last time you and I spoke, you mentioned that your a big product technique, e-commerce technique that you're using is rundles, and a lot of people don't understand what that is. So why don't you explain what that is, how you use it, and how that makes a big difference? I think probably with your average sale price. Um, Go ahead and give us a rundown
So
there.
I borrowed the rundle terminology from Scott Galloway, who's one of my North Stars in both e-commerce and technology in general. He's a professor at NYU. And quite simply, the rundle is the reoccurring revenue bundle. And we do everything we can to put people on subscriptions or loyalty programs, but we love to see those customers ordering supplies from us every 4 to 6 weeks. And I call those types of customers nectar customers. They are the nectar of our business. And holding on to them is critical to our business. You can burn a lot of cash acquiring customers, but holding on to them, maximizing customer lifetime value, getting more dollars out of that acquisition is that's the essence of our business. And increasingly, I believe that's the essence of e-commerce businesses in a lot of ways, is to stay engaged, keep selling them products, and being relevant enough to keep selling products that they need. Fortunately, ours is a disposable product. Our business, although we sell 5,000 different SKUs of products for the elderly and their caregivers, it is anchored in our repeat purchase of incontinence products.
Yeah, and including when you talk about enterprise value of a company, that recurring revenue really changes the value quite a bit. It's an interesting one too, though, because when we talk also about demographics, your customers, sadly to say, they're not going to be with you for that long, right? They're not going to be a customer that you're going to have for 40 years. Maybe some of them, but so that's just an interesting thing there as well.
We acknowledge that our customers and our customers who are buying premium incontinence products typically engage us because they just can't find the quality, absorbency, leak-proof aspects of incontinence products at retail. The equation for premium incontinence hasn't really penetrated retail, so they go online to find us. But we do acknowledge when they come on and are buying our types of products, we have about a 3-year cycle before it's the big opt-out. And the big opt-out could be death, hospice, institutionalization. But we find, as long as we continue to focus on delivering a great experience, and the entire organization looks at and is very communicative about our Net Promoter Score. We use that also as a North Star metric for our business.
Yeah,
And for your readers, or I mean, for your followers, I assume everyone knows what a Net Promoter Score is, but the average for retail, a good retailer would be about 60. When we're clicking on all cylinders, our NPS is around 80.
Yeah, impressive. Okay, talk a little bit about the dry direct line too. Was that an e-commerce strategy, or was that just a new product line that you helped bring on?
So again, when I went to our investors and said we must start with our own private label, we looked at our trademarks that we had in our portfolio, and we had Dry Direct as a trademark that we were free and clear on, and thankfully one of our founders has a branding agency, and she said, David, you can go two ways. You can either label this as parent giving incontinence line or Dry Direct. And she goes, do you have aspirations to sell this omni-channel? And I'm like, of course. Why even do this if we don't sell it omni-channel? And she said, then you have to have a name, a brand that's separate from your store brand. And I've never forgotten that, and I've always embraced that learning. So we started it, and from scratch, it became 20% of our business, and it grew so much that our investors said, we've got to sell the company. You need more capital. You need to partner with probably a manufacturer. And that's where Santec Spa recognized the opportunity, and they too wanted to expand their presence in the United States. And they came in and bought us lock, stock, and barrel. And then immediately they retained me as CEO. Immediately, my focus then became to take what products they made and putting it into the Dry Direct line. And thankfully, they make some world-class incontinence products that are very well adapted and adopted by American consumers. That's been that's been the great surprise, not a surprise, but there's size differences between a European made garment and a US made garment, and we were able to transcend that. And again, the quality, the craftsmanship, the provenance of made in Italy is real. And we put that into our Dry Direct product. And actually, Joe, the more we amplify that we are made in Italy and it's craft, I think American consumers have a real appetite for made in Italy. They understand the food, they understand the performance aspect, whether it's automobiles or firearms or
That's where
bicycles.
Ferraris are made. That's like
Ferraris, Armani, and then the fashion aspect. They
Lamborghini.
know
Yeah.
that they know how to craft clothing. So all of that feeds to our go-to-market for Dry Direct. And we do not hesitate to advertise the made in Italy and made better in Italy aspect of our products.
Yeah. It sounds like things really came together there.
Yeah, it was and we've spent the last couple of years maximizing and optimizing what we can out of our parents' factory in Italy, and instead now source around it here domestically for products that they don't make especially well in Europe, just to make sure that we are putting forth the best products we can under our brand label.
Yeah. Okay. And uh, we talked about Shopify, some marketplaces, Walmart, Amazon. What other tools have you used? You've got a pretty big operation. You're moving a lot of stuff around, a lot of places. What other tools have you found helpful to use, whether they're software or other marketplaces or just e-commerce in general and running the business?
So in the past 18 months, we grew our Dry Direct business so much that our healthcare distributor, who we had a partnership with, said, "You're fired. We can't support your business. It's bigger than what we anticipated, and it doesn't dovetail easily with our business." So we went out and, in very short order, had to do an RFP and move our business, move our distribution, our fulfillment to a 3P solution. And in that aspect, we chose ShipBob, who is one of Shopify's preferred, it seems like 3P shipping platforms. And again, we are moving goods globally from Italy into the United States, into fulfillment centers, and then using a multitude of carriers to get it from order to door for our customers. And that was a sea change that we've incurred in the last 18 months, not without fits and starts, not without some pain points, but we feel like we've cleared that hurdle and have increased our service levels and kind of optimized our footprint. So I would say in our current business, ShipBob has been an important component of what we're taking to the market.
Yeah, the shipping is always a critical part of it for moving a lot of volume, a lot of products, and it has to be accurate, and it has to be to keep that promoter score up. It's got to arrive when you tell them it's going to arrive.
Our customers, when they need their product, they need their product. A lot of our customer base, we have three buckets of our customer. It's a senior buying for themselves. It's what I call a senior spousal unit, which is a couple that probably don't have as much family caring for them. And then there's a family caregiver, where it's let's say a 60 plus year old oldest daughter caring for their 80 something adult parents. And so all the kind of bygone, not prejudices, but these stereotypes of seniors not being digital is changing rapidly. They are getting very digital, very quickly. So much so that we introduced an app earlier this year that exceeded all expectations. Again, that was built within the Shopify universe, and the adoption rate, how that very quickly became a huge chunk of our business has been very encouraging. But to all of that, I say that the senior market is much more digital than they ever get credit for.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. An app, when you talk about people that may have mobility issues, getting up, getting to a desk, whatever, that but everybody's got their phone on them all the time.
Phone and tablet, and we also take great pride in our customer service efforts. We hire only people that have gone through the caregiving journey to come into our organization, especially to answer the phones, because we could teach you a lot of things, but we cannot teach empathy. We cannot teach that caregiving is hard. Caregiving is not a sexy or glamorous role that anyone takes on in their life. It's hard work, and it's meaningful work because you're caring for someone that you love. um, so I find that really important that we hire for that experience. And that's also part of our great net promoter score, is having people that have been through it, we educate them, we keep them up to date. We bring a bevy of great products, that and only great products that we sell. Joe, if something has a high return rate or has a high dissatisfaction score, we'll turn it off. We'll close it out. We'll get rid of it, because the friction, and this is another important point that I don't think we emphasize enough, our return rates are exceptionally low. And that's by design. We put everything we can on the front end. We make sure that they're ordering what they want, that they have historically ordered. And so our return rate is below 2%, which is a proud figure that I put forth, but it's also a testament to our team.
Yeah, that's a great number. And like you said, the caregivers, whether they're family or even in the healthcare industry, the nurses and that type of thing, they're a different, very special type of people, to be able to
Sure.
do that work. It's not for everyone. So
We increasingly, Joe, see an opportunity in the B2B market. There's a there's a direct correlation in the types of products we sell, which I would call premium incontinence. What does that mean? That means they have leg guards, they're high absorbency, they're leak proof, they have better quality of SAP so they don't emanate odor. Um, but there's a direct correlation to the popularity of those types of products and this aging in place and dying in place phenomena. Um, and along with that are these home caregivers who are increasingly having to rely on these types of tools that we bring into the equation. And it's, if you put forth a great product at a great price and you deliver it on time and it's a great experience, you win them first. Why would they ever go back to an institutional quote unquote product? Why would they go back to something that's cheaper but doesn't work as well? So again, all of these kind of factors are coming together that are growing this business.
yeah, and not to keep coming back to COVID, but I think after that, a lot of people that lived through COVID are saying, I'm not going to a hospital. I don't want to go to a hospital. That's not
Right.
for any reason other than an absolute emergency. So yeah, a lot of people are going to stay at home. I believe that trend will continue.
And people are starting to understand, it's like, well, geez, I'm paying you know, $90 for a case of dry direct diapers or adult diapers. I don't mean to call diapers, but underwear or briefs is the more easier to digest phrase. But look at the alternative of putting them into a continuing care retirement community or an assisted living. It's a small extra price that allows a family caregiver or a home caregiver to care for these people at home. There's also another correlation to all of this is, as dementia and Alzheimer's rates increase with this aging boomer population, those people need better products. They can't always communicate when they have to go to the bathroom. They have mobility issues. And also to put a loved one into a memory care facility is very expensive. So people are looking for cost-effective solutions, whether it's managing incontinence at home, food delivery. There's this whole, I believe, movement to try to service people where they live at home versus putting them into institutions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like I mentioned, I think that trend will continue as well. Okay, let's go a little high level here as we start to wrap up the podcast. Any advice that you have for anyone that's thinking of, you could say a cliche would be quitting their 9 to 5 and getting into their own thing, being their own boss, and so on. Either specifically in e-commerce or not, just general business advice, getting started and being an entrepreneur.
As I've spoken to a lot of people over the last couple of months, with these recession headwinds and tariffs and et cetera, and a lot of I don't know, frightening topics, and overwhelmingly the takeaway I get is to try to deliver value. Try to find products or deliver an experience that the customer has to come back to you for. It's just too good. It was delivered exceptionally well, or the products work exceptionally well. So to thrill that customer, to provide real value, I think is a North Star. I always talk about North Stars, but it's certainly an orientation point. Whether you're doing a startup meal delivery service or doing a food truck or whatever it is, deliver real value will naturally cut through all of this kind of scary times and recessionary impulses, and we'll get your customers coming back. That's the takeaway I'm really picking up in this year of 2025.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. And I would also say that if you look at statistically, a lot of very big, very successful companies have started in some of these difficult times, like the dot-com era or 2008 real estate or 9/11. You can take your pick. But it's a surprising number of people. And I think maybe a little bit of that is more people are doing it out of necessity because of layoffs. Maybe that was in the back of their mind that they were ready to take that leap, and then they did it. But it is interesting that it's counterintuitive of what I think a lot of people think.
Sure.
All right. Well, we talked a lot about what you got going on and some of your products. So if any listeners want to go see what all of your website and things look like from what you described, how, what does that look like on a website? How do they find you and your products?
So they can find us at parentgiving.com. That's one word. Or if you are on a marketplace like Amazon or Walmart, go to Dry Direct store, or you can go to drydirect.com, which is our brand URL. So parentgiving.com or Dry Direct. Do search for that and you'll find us.
All right, excellent. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap up today's podcast. David, thank you for sharing all your experience with our listeners, and thanks to everyone listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Focal Insights Podcast. If you like this episode, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can be alerted of new episodes. See you next time.